In this video, I want to look at some of the most controversial LEGO Star Wars minifigures and cover what makes them so controversial in the community and my thoughts about them. The first minifigure I want to look at is one of the latest Darth Maul minifigures, included in the Sith Infiltrator last year. This minifigure is fairly good, and the first time we have seen Darth Maul in his Phantom Menace outfit in quite a long time, so it was really nice in that sense. However, this minifigure uses the newer Sith pupils on the faceprint, which is the main controversy around this minifigure. This is of course something that appears on several other minifigures as well, namely characters such as Emperor Palpatine and the recent Darth Rey, but also evident on some light side characters in a different sense, where almost the same thing is being depicted, just in different colors. Examples for this include Ahsoka Tano, Hera Syndulla, and probably the most out of place one, Ezra Bridger. Now, I chose to specifically look at Darth Maul because I personally saw the most backlash around this one compared to the other minifigures. Now, this is something I personally am fine with, and I actually like the Sith pupils on someone like Darth Maul a lot. On the other minifigures it doesn't matter too much to me, but comparing to previous Maul minifigures, I think this one just fits way better. The controversy behind the Sith eyes makes sense, as many deem it an unnecessary change, but I think the only time it will really be bad is if they decide to make a Sith Anakin with these eyes, and I think that would look quite ridiculous. Quite a prominent and long-lasting controversy in the community is the newer Stormtrooper design. These minifigures were first introduced in 2019 after a test run in 2018 for some solo exclusive troopers with dual molded helmets. During the 20th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, LEGO decided to introduce these new Stormtroopers in sets like the Death Star Escape and the Imperial Dropship. These new dual molded helmets instantly had quite the mixed reaction. Some people really liked them and to this day sing its praise, while others despise it completely, arguing that it is one of the biggest problems of modern LEGO Star Wars. Through the past few years, these minifigures have evolved though, with a torso and leg print that is the best we have ever gotten, so far at least. But these oversized helmets are here to stay. We have also seen these with other Stormtrooper variants, such as the Night Troopers and the Artillery Trooper, which are minifigures we have never seen before, but once again get loads of hate due to the helmets. Now, my take on this is that the helmets are not great. They are not better than the 2014 era Stormtroopers, at least in my opinion, but after 6 years, it is time that we move on and accept these helmets. They aren't the best, but they aren't that terrible, and in large quantities, they look fine. In 2024, we saw the return of Jabba's sail barge in UCS form. Included in this set was a handful of new and decent minifigures, one being Slave Leia, or titled as Hutt Slayer Leia. Now this minifigure, as well as the previous depictions of this character, is quite controversial for the obvious reason that it depicts Leia in an explicit manner, as seen in Return of the Jedi. Now of course this was represented on screen in a for the most part children movie, so it shouldn't be too bad in LEGO form, especially the newer minifigure that covers way more with the dual molded leg piece. However, the more controversial part is the depiction of a character in a slave state. It has become evident that the term slave and things associated to it is something LEGO wants to avoid, as seen with this character being retitled as Hutt Slayer Leia instead of Slave Leia, and it is also evident in the Slave One, retitled as Boba or Jango Fett's starship. People argue that this is inaccurate and foolish for LEGO to do, as it takes away from this in-universe accuracy, while others think that characters like Slave Leia shouldn't appear in modern LEGO Star Wars at all. I think, once again, the fans are over-exaggerating the issue here, and many think that too. Slave Leia is a necessary character for the set to complete the scene, and she is depicted fairly accurately while still being pure enough for LEGO standards. Whether she is titled as Slave Leia or whether the Slave One is titled as the Slave One or something else, doesn't change anything. Still the same ship, still the same character, so I think it is something not worth being bothered about. Finally, looking at some clone troopers, probably one of the most controversial topics in LEGO Star Wars in some parts of the community. A basic rundown on this is that when LEGO introduced this new design in 2020, people had quite a mixed reaction. It was generally good, but some people don't like the new style. Then LEGO introduced helmet holes, in what people thought was the weirdest way possible, and the hate for these new minifigures got even worse. Additionally, cloth waistcapes changed to printed waistcapes, which was a massive downgrade, and other printing issues along the way made it even worse. The two minifigures I want to focus on here though is Fives and Captain Rex. Captain Rex is a very sought after character that was heavily anticipated when it was first released, and sure, it wasn't perfect due to the waistcape mainly, but it is still arguably the best Captain Rex we have ever seen in LEGO Star Wars. The main controversy comes in when this minifigure, seemingly exclusive to the Venator, was released in a microfighter a few months later, removing all exclusivity of this minifigure. Right off the bat, I think this is a very good thing, and I know many of my viewers disagree, but getting a sort of the minifigure in a cheap set, despite being called exclusive previously, is necessary, and I hope it happens in the future with characters like Jango Fett as well. Sure, the minifigure could have been a tiny bit different, but it really isn't that deep, and getting a high quality minifigure in a cheap set should be encouraged, especially if it is a very popular clone trooper character like Captain Rex that previously would have been over $100 on the aftermarket. Fives of course is also controversial, more in the sense of clone trooper quality, as people argue it is one of the worst anniversary minifigures and modern clone troopers as a whole, while a major part of the community loves it. Personally, I also really like this minifigure, and I have much bigger problems with something like the printing on Commander Fox that I have with this one. Sure, the helmet is not perfect, the pauldrons aren't as good as the previous ARC Trooper, and there is a printed waistcape, but the minifigure is still good, with a great torso piece, arm printing, good face prints, etc, etc. I like modern clone troopers. They are some of my favorite minifigures, despite the hate some parts of the community show towards them. The final minifigure is once again a clone trooper, but more on a completely different field. This of course is the Phase 1 Clone Commander, included in the UCS Republic gunship. This is a really good clone trooper minifigure, and the newest Phase 1 minifigures are probably the best they will ever be. However, it shouldn't have been in this set, or at least it shouldn't have been made to dub as the clone pilot, as these are two very different clone troopers. So I think the controversy here is that a lot of people think this is really bad and poor from LEGO's side, while others think it isn't that deep at all. And after all, you're getting a big, very good gunship, where a single pilot doesn't actually matter at all. Now, here I am kind of agreeing with those that think this should have been a pilot, and a proper pilot is the most obvious minifigure to include in this UCS set. So getting it wrong or being indifferent about designing it that way is quite bad, I reckon. However, the Clone Commander still makes sense for this set as well, and a Clone Commander can be very relevant to a Republic gunship as seen on Geonosis. So once again, it's something certain parts of the community over-exaggerate by quite a lot. And we are getting a new clone trooper this year at least. But ultimately, these things are subjective, and after all, it is just a toy. not worth getting too worked up about. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I will see you in the next one. God bless you, and cheers.